Hello everyone, hi, I'm Dr. Sogata Sarkar, and as you can see, I'm back with another video in my channel, and in today's video I'm going to talk about a very essential micronutrient, that is vitamin D. It is one of the most essential micronutrients that has got plenty of roles in our body. Now I'll try to explain you in a very easy and understandable way why is it so essential and what are the roles that it has got in our body. So let's begin. I'll start with something very important which most of the people don't know about. The first role of vitamin D in our body is to activate our body immune system. Our immune cells has got vitamin D receptors. So whenever vitamin D is getting attached to those receptors, our body defense mechanism gets activated, and that helps us to fight against any kind of virus, bacteria or any kind of foreign infections. It has been seen over the years that there are increased chance of lung and respiratory infections in deficiency of vitamin D. There have been plenty of surveys, trials are done over the years, and it has been proven that if you are having less than 30 nanogram per deciliter of vitamin D level in your blood, then you are more prone to respiratory infections like tuberculosis, like influenza, and some of the non-respiratory infections as well, like bacterial vaginosis. I would like to focus on another point, that is the ancient practice of treatment of tuberculosis. Exposure to direct sunlight and consuming cod liver oil have been practicing over the years in the treatment of tuberculosis, and as we all know how much essential sunlight is to synthesize vitamin D in our body, and cod liver oil itself has got very rich source of vitamin D. So you all can see it has been believed over the years that vitamin D has a very essential role in boosting our immunity and in preventing this kind of respiratory infections. It has also been seen over the years that people with very low vitamin D levels are more prone to develop autoimmune diseases. Now I will briefly explain what autoimmune disease is. It is a condition where your immune system considers your own body cells to be its enemy, and they end up destroying your own body cells. And it has been studied over the years that people with very low vitamin D levels are more prone to these kind of diseases. So you have to maintain a decent amount of vitamin D level in your blood to avoid this kind of diseases. One more point I must add on to it is, during this worldwide pandemic of COVID-19 infection, maintaining your vitamin D level is very essential. As we all know, it is also a respiratory viral infection, and as I have discussed previously that vitamin D is essential for your body immunity system to take necessary actions against this kind of virus. If your blood vitamin D level is below 30 nanogram per deciliter, then please consult a doctor and take necessary precautions and supplementations, and that's how you can keep yourself stronger to fight against this novel coronavirus. Vitamin D has got plenty of other roles in our body, and I'll explain them one by one very briefly. So firstly, bone health. Vitamin D helps our bones to absorb calcium from blood, and that's how it keeps our bones stronger and prevents some diseases like ricket, osteoporosis, commonly arthritis. It helps us to maintain a good bone volume and bone density and prevents bones to be fragile, and that maintains a decent amount of calcium level in our blood. So by maintaining a decent amount of vitamin D level in our blood, we can keep our musculoskeletal system healthy. Secondly, it's bone marrow, where there are plenty of vitamin D receptors, and this bone marrow helps us to produce blood cells like red blood cells that carries oxygenated blood to tissue, white blood cells that helps us to fight against infections, and platelets that helps in blood coagulation. So maintaining a good bone marrow health is very essential for our body physiology to stay active. The third place where there are plenty of vitamin D receptors in our body is our brain. By maintaining a good amount of vitamin D level, we can improve our brain function, and it is also important for a good brain development in case of children if a good amount of vitamin D level is maintained since childhood. It is also very important to maintain a good vitamin D level to get a good and healthy gastrointestinal system. Our large intestine, specifically colon, has got plenty of vitamin D receptors, and by maintaining a good amount of vitamin D level, we can avoid complications like irregular bowel movements, irritable bowel syndrome, and we can have a good and healthy gut. This another very essential part where there are plenty of vitamin D receptors is female breasts. By maintaining adequate amount of vitamin D level, a pregnant and lactating mother can produce enough breast milk, and that's how the milk will be enriched in vitamin D as well, and the baby will be getting enough amount of vitamin D to prevent complications and diseases that I have discussed previously. Now that was very briefly I tried to explain about the roles of vitamin D in our body. Now I'll explain very briefly what are the sources of vitamin D, how you can get it from the nature, and if you are having deficiency of vitamin D, then how to replenish it. So firstly I'll focus on the natural sources. Vitamin D is synthesized in the epidermis of our skin in presence of sunlight. Exposure to sunlight every day about 20 to 30 minutes with most of the body parts exposed will be enough and adequate to synthesize enough amount of vitamin D for our body. Even fatty fishes like tuna, salmon, mackerel and cod liver oil and some other foods like egg yolks, cheese are very good source of vitamin D. So having this food in your diet on a regular basis can give you a good vitamin D supplementation. Though I avoid cheese in my diet cause I prefer avoiding processed food. So I personally don't prefer keeping cheese in my regular diet. But these foods are very rich in vitamin D and that will give you enough supplementation. But vitamin D has to go through further activation process through your liver and kidney. So you have to keep your liver and kidney healthy for your vitamin D to work for your body. But there are people who cannot expose themselves enough to direct sunlight. So for them, they can use vitamin D supplementation in forms of tablets or capsules. The normal daily maintenance dose of vitamin D for a normal individual is about 1000 to 1500 units per day, and it should be taken with the fattiest meal of the day as it is a fat soluble vitamin and will be absorbed well with a fatty meal. But you should not exceed your dose from 2.5 to 3K per day as it can cause toxicity. Abuse or overdosing of any nutrient is not acceptable and is not recommended as well. For pregnant and lactating mother, the daily required dose of vitamin D level should be increased up to 2.5 to 3000 units per day. But I personally highly recommend them to consult a doctor before supplementing vitamin D as these cases are much more sensitive than we expect. For people who are suffering from vitamin D deficiency on a bigger aspect can take 60,000 units of vitamin D supplementation weekly. But here I'll highly recommend you to check your vitamin D levels before you supplement yourself to this high dose, and please consult a doctor before supplementing yourself to know the exact duration of your course. So this was all about vitamin D, and I tried to explain you very briefly why is it so essential for our body and how you can supplement yourself with vitamin D. Now if you like this video, then please like, share and please subscribe my channel. Thank you.